I have just had a consultation with all the whips of parties following a consultation with the leader of the government business. In terms of Rule 48, subsection 2, we have decided to adjourn proceedings for a date to be determined by the programming committee. This is in accordance with Rule 10. Honorable members, before we started the session, we were informed by the leader of government business, as it is the process in terms of the communications between ourselves and the executive, that while today we've been gathered here to actually have the Minister of Finance presenting the budget to this august house, that there has not been agreement in terms of parties in the executive to actually find one another in proposals of the budget.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another epic episode whereby we talk on what is trending in South Africa. And I welcome you to join me as we're about to have this discussion. So we know that for the first time, the National Assembly was adjourned because of the budget speech postponement. And you know that this GNU, right, it is working on the other hand, and it is not working on the other hand. This has good and bad at the same time. Why I say this? Because a lot of people will just focus on the dispute, the fight, the chaos that the opposition had, right, with the National Assembly Speaker. But there is something very good about the postponement, and when you hear the background about what is the fight really about. So today I want us to expose the depths of the fight. What is it about? But now this thing, it is said that it was a dispute between the DA and the ANC. See, this GNU is always fighting about matters, but this time this is a serious matter because these are finances that has to do with the whole country. Before we get into it, please don't forget you can leave your subscription button. Remember, it is free of charge, you pay nothing, and you can leave your comment on the section below, and you can press the super thanks button if you've learned something very interesting in this video. So let's jump right straight to it. So the DA claims a victory and says that this postponement was because of them, saying that they are against the tax increase, the VAT increase of 2% that was supposed to be made by the finance minister Godongwana, and they say that they've opposed, right? But why do they oppose in the last minute? Because this thing was supposed to go to the National Assembly so that the MPs will voice satisfaction, they will voice their support, they will voice their concern concerning the matter raised. But it seems like the DA is now in charge. They've taken the decision to say that, man, we do not agree, just postpone this.
On some of the proposals in the current budget that members of the GNU felt were not in line with the growth agenda in South Africa. And so our interactions as parties to the GNU have decided to postpone today's budget and to come back to Parliament with a budget that we think better reflects the growth and jobs agenda, and which also takes into consideration the plight of the people of South Africa who are suffering under an incredibly high cost of living crisis, a huge unemployment crisis. And what we want to do is to come back with a budget that will answer all of those questions, but also give South Africans hope that there is now a big move forward under the government of national unity to fix the economy, to create jobs, and to ensure that we can combat the high cost of living.
Even Gayton McKenzie on his Twitter handle came for the DA and just disagreed with them. He wrote, Patriotic Alliance leader Gayton McKenzie has slammed the Democratic Alliance for claiming they forced the postponement of today's highly anticipated national budget speech. Please delete this. Gaten McKenzie hits back at the DA for claiming victory over the postponement. So Gaten McKenzie and other opposition are saying that this is not your doing. But this thing has just showed me one thing, that the DA is in charge. The DA control ANC ministers, like what was happening with Dion and Sihle Zigalala. It shows that not only this is affecting Sihle, even the likes of Godongwana, they can be told what to do by Edward Kitsweta, who is a SARS boss commissioner of the South African Revenue Service, right? So now the dispute comes to Godongwana and Kitsweta. They have a dispute. So Kitsweta is SARS boss, right? So he's the one now who is against this hike. Then listen to this. Godongwana wants to increase VAT with 2% hike, and that will affect the poor and will cause inflation, meaning food prices will start going up and petrol prices will start going up and other things as well. Right, so SARS boss commissioner of South African Revenue Service, Edward Kitsweta, disagree with the tax hikes. He wants to claim 800 billion in uncollected tax. Instead, he's saying that no, do not increase. So this is for the good cause, as I have outlined. He's saying that do not increase tax hikes, but let us go to those who are not paying SARS. Right? Remember the story of Mamkize, the business lady, the Royal AM owner. That is why Abu Mamkize are selling their football club, the Royal AM, to recompensate SARS and to pay their debt, right? Remember what has happened with the Royal AM, that now the management, they decided to sell the club because they are owing SARS millions. So a lot of companies and a lot of individuals, people, SARS is coming after them because now Kitsweta is saying go to these ones, they are not paying their taxes, right? So the EFF is come out strongly and suggested another approach on how to handle the matter.
Leave the poor alone. We just increased this VAT from 14 to 15% during Zuma's time. Now Ramaphosa wants to take it to 17. No one seems to be thinking for the poor of the poorest.
The CIC is saying leave the poor alone and focus on increasing the corporate tax and introduce the wealth tax. During Zuma's time, it was increased to 14% in 2018. Now the government wants to take it to 17%. Ramaphosa's government does not care for the poor of the poorest.
This day is actually quite a shocker. We are really shocked. This is in the past 30 years, to have a day like this is a serious indication of the crisis that this country is facing. This country has got no leadership. This is what we are facing. We are saying, if we say we have democracy, let democracy come and exercise itself here. This is a theater of politics. Let the Minister of Finance come and say whatever I wanted to say. We don't want to hear rumors. We hear very disturbing rumors that the VAT would have been increased by 2%. In other words, we hear rumors that this ANC-led government wanted to impoverish our people.
This is unprecedented, and this is not a practice that we want to set for this parliament. It is going to be your legacy, Speaker, that during your tenure, Parliament could not debate and adopt budget. We are saying to you, you are denying this body an opportunity to be receiving a budget, debate it, accept it or reject it. You are now subjecting the budget of South Africa to party politics when the budget is supposed to be above party politics. Let the budget be presented here and let Parliament decide that this is the decision that we are taking as Parliament, or whether to accept or not. You cannot come here and say confidently that the parties in the executive are not agreeing. What is that? We don't have parties in the executive. We've got the executive. The executive must come here and present the budget, and this parliament must decide whether we adopt that budget or not. You are denying the people of South Africa to see what is happening in this government. There is no government. It has collapsed. It has no capacity to present a budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So this obviously has affected the MPs in Parliament, and that's why there was chaos. The sitting of the National Assembly was at last postponed, and the MPs were looking forward to debate the speech. The budget speech address was postponed to 12 March, and that made MPs to be very, very angry. So what made the MPs to be very angry about this outcome is because they were told in the last minute, they were all prepared, they were all there, and the DA just has proven that they are in charge. That is why the opposition was now fighting back. The speaker say all chief whips were informed, but the ATM and the UDM are saying they were not told about anything, as they seemed shocked of what was happening. Let us watch here.
Speaker, thank you very much. Where was this discussion held? Why was the UDM not part of that discussion? As a result, we cannot support a decision that we know absolutely nothing about. Secondly, we should not treat a proposal from the executive in the nature of a budget as fait accompli. It is only final after Parliament has approved it. It is therefore logical, if the minister was going to table a proposal, that the proposal should have been tabled here for Parliament to consider, and if Parliament does not agree with that process, we can arrive at a different outcome altogether. Thank you.
Another thing that the MPs were crying for about is that the microphone's connection was cut off, meaning that this looks like it was pre-planned all along, to say that there will be no sitting, and this likely will cause chaos, but we don't want to hear from these MPs. They must just cut off the audio sound so that they will not speak. And the EFF stood up and took the speaker on, and Julius Malema said that no, the speakers, we want to view our concerns here. The speakers are not working, and now the MK party came in, Mzwanyeni Manyi, and they were coming against the GNU and blaming the DA, the GNU, and President Cyril Ramaphosa.
At the mics. Order. Can we please get a roving mic?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
There are no mics here where we are.
Exactly, I'm seeing
And we
that
can't
too.
start a sitting without having mics, because we are here to be the voice of the voiceless. So when the voice of the voiceless is voiceless, who's going to speak for people? There are no mics here.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for pointing that one out. One may not know what is the challenge. We will check that with the communications team.
This is raised serious concern since it was something happening for the first time. It has never happened. So the truth of the matter is that the GNU has more disputes than agreement. And another thing, that the cause that the DA has stopped the minister of not continuing with this budget speech, and what the opposition parties are fighting for. They are all fighting for one thing, by the way, to say that do not increase VAT. Let it be as it is. It will affect the poor. It will cause inflation, and the country, everything, goods, food, petrol will just go up, and the poor already are feeling the strains, right? So just looking at the unemployment rate and how many people are unemployed, this will be very negative. So the ANC and the minister will have to play their cards right. But what was interesting was this conversation that was had between Chaveni and Godongwana when they were speaking about Edward Kitsweta, who is the commissioner of SARS. They said something very interesting. Listen here.
I'm glad you took the question about the commissioner. You answered it much better than I would have been able to.
Oh no, I was a bit, I was worried I should not be angry.
No, you wanted to do no, but you did what?
Yeah. No, you did what? No, he's making me angry.
Yes, no, it's whatever.
I said, we're discussing, even here, he comes up with this rubbish. I said, how will it help me on the 19th, even now on the 12th?
Yes.
He did not know that we've made provision for him for 3.5 in the new arrangement. But that 3.5 now is gone.
Yes, no, all right, you finally keep. What happened in here? Yeah, I'll just take it.
This has exposed tensions within the Government of National Unity, the GNU, as Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana, Minister in the Presidency Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, and Director General of National Treasurer Dr. Duncan Peters were caught gossiping about South African Revenue Service SARS Commissioner Edward Kitsweta. Following a media briefing, the incident, which unfolded just after the trio explained the controversial postponement of Godongwana's budget speech. Godongwana was captured on camera admitting to his anger over Kitsweta's comments opposing the value-added tax VAT increase. Unaware that the cameras were still rolling, he vented his frustration, saying, "Oh no, I was a bit worried. He's making me angry. Even here he comes up with this rubbish." I said, how would it help me on the 19th, even now on the 12th? As the conversation continued, Ntshavheni was heard asking, "Uhamba nini?" a Zulu phrase meaning, "when is he leaving?" in a reference to Kitsweta's position at SARS. The remark raised speculation that Ntshavheni might be wanting Kitsweta out. The timing of the budget speech postponement has already sparked controversy, with a report indicating that internal disputes within the GNU played a significant role in the delay. The budget, originally scheduled for today, was pushed back to 12 March, further intensifying speculations that the government is struggling to reach consensus on the key financial policies, particularly the alleged 2% VAT increase. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana admits to being angered by SARS boss Edward Kitsweta over his comments on a VAT increase. This was caught on camera after the minister held a briefing explaining the delay in the tabling of his budget speech. So one thing that I want just to say about this is that the GNU ministers are not seeing eye to an eye, and the President Ramaphosa will have to intervene. Right, because it seems like his ministers are fighting again, but especially when it comes to this tax hike, because we can't, as South Africa, afford this, and this is too much. Please don't forget you can subscribe to this channel and leave a comment on the section below, and you can press the super thanks button until we meet on the next video, and I'm out.